initially when you're building a business, you're just in the weeds, you're with the team and you're just doing. And I think as a leader of a business, it's really important to take some time and step back and think about what your intentions are and how you can lead the team.
Welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Just sit back, relax, and learn from the leaders of today. It's a journey. Each one is different, unique, inspiring. Let's get started. This episode is powered by J Ventures, a community-driven VC fund in Silicon Valley in partnership with Leumi Tech and sponsored by Hippo Insurance, Turing, Upwest Labs, and Hillel at Stanford. What is it like organizing an event for thousands of people every year? Meet Carina Bauer, CEO of IMEX Group. Carina Bauer is CEO of UK-based IMEX Group, which organizes the two leading global shows for the international business events industry, IMEX in Frankfurt, held in Germany each spring, and IMEX America, taking place in Las Vegas each fall. Each show typically attracts 14,000 business event professionals for the opportunity to do business with 3,400 plus destinations, venues, and suppliers from 150 plus couriers. Carina Bauer, welcome to my show. How are you today?
I'm good, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Are you in the United Kingdom right now?
Yeah, I'm in the UK. I'm in a small town called Brighton, just right on the south coast.
I love it. So you're in a small town in the UK, yet you're responsible for organizing some of the most amazing and extraordinary events, both in Frankfurt and in Las Vegas. I love attending these types of events, and I'm especially excited to hear now the organizer's perspective. Organizing events that thousands of people come to, working with thousands of businesses. I can't imagine those are easy, times during the year, both in the fall and the spring. Carina, you started IMEX, 18 years ago, I believe, right? And I would love to hear a little bit about, this, how, what sparked it and how you, all the way back and throughout your journey, extract some of those interesting lessons that you've learned about leadership and about, event management and those sorts of things.
Absolutely. Well, I'm not sure if you're aware, but IMEX is a family business. So it was actually my father, Ray, who started the company. And prior to IMEX, he had been in the exhibition and the business events world for a number of years. So I kind of grew up in this world, attending trade shows, attending events, and I didn't necessarily think that that's what my future would hold. But I joined the business in 2002, just a year before we had our first event in Frankfurt. And I really just loved the business. And I think, you're either an event person or you're not. And for me, the build up to creating a product like an amazing event with thousands of people and being able to really see and feel the fruits of your work there and feel the atmosphere of that was, for me, I love that.
But you get to enjoy those events. I mean, you have 14,000 people roaming around, huge halls. Do you actually get a chance to breathe and examine the beautiful work and take pride in it? Or is it only after the fact?
No, you do at the time as well, because there's something really special, on the first morning about seeing thousands of people come in and then seeing them connect. And there's a real energy. And the energy I've learned over time is the energy of people, many of whom know each other from around the world, coming together and meeting. And they are so happy to be meeting and doing business that energy just accelerates through the halls. So you do feel it. And then, of course, when you run events like that, people come up to you all day and say, thank you. And it was wonderful. And we've done this and we've done that business. And that really gives you a buzz as well. So you do enjoy it. It's kind of that play hard, work hard culture. And I always say to people who are looking to join us, I say, if you're the type of person who enjoyed exams at school, you probably enjoy events, because it's that same sort of focused pressure that you have in the lead up, and you've either done the work on the day or you haven't, the same as an exam, right? So if you enjoy that kind of pressure, you probably enjoy events. And then, of course, you get to relax afterwards and, think about, did it go well? Didn't it go well? And really debrief it and then go again. And I like that element. For me, that's always worked well. I've got a chance to stop, breathe, review, and then make it better. And that's what I've always loved, that ability to kind of do that incremental innovation and every single year do a better job. That for me is, I guess, what keeps me going.
I love that idea, and that idea of improving 1% at every iteration, that at the end it just accumulates to something incredible, that looking back is a huge shift, but with every iteration you're just improving a little bit. One of the things that I love in understanding about leadership is this idea of intentionality. And I read over the blog post where you outline some of the commitments that you have for 2021, and I think that speaks a lot about the leadership style. And I'd love to pick your brain, as a leader of this great organization. How do you think through these decisions, and what are some of those big commitments that you've made for 2021?
Yeah, first of all, I think, that word intentionality is really important. I think that's something I've learned over the past 20 years. You know, Initially, when you're building a business, you're just in the weeds, you're with the team, and you're just doing. And I think as a leader of a business, it's really important to take some time and step back and think about what your intentions are and how you can lead the team. It's certainly not something I did at the beginning. And if I were going to do one thing again, it would be to really intentionally take that time out to think and to prepare. As you said, we released at the beginning of this year sort of a blog or two blogs with 12 commitments for the year. And it was important for us to do that because it really built upon some of the key themes that we work on year round to drive not only our business, but our community forward. Because what we do as a large event is we're kind of the melting pot, we're the coming together of our whole global industry. So it's really important that we take issues like diversity and inclusion, sustainability, micro communities, innovation, and really champion them really for the whole community and help our industry to learn from what we're doing, to learn and be inspired by other people. And we see our role as kind of educators as well. So if you take a subject like sustainability and that incremental innovation that we've talked about previously, we've built one of the most sustainable trade shows in North America, but we've done that through having a clear intention to build a sustainable event, but doing it through small innovations, baby steps, we call them, year on year on year. We don't throw away what we did the year before, we just slowly build on that. And that's kind of what we try to do in all different aspects. So diversity and inclusion is something we're looking on now. We have that opportunity in our position to not only do that for our events, but also help our community to learn. So that's the way we do things in a very intentional way. And we try to really put out our learnings as well and show people where we've done well, but show people as well some of the mistakes we've made.
So tell me just a few of the, either mistakes or, things that you've done that surprised you over the years as a leader. And I think that I usually get so inspired by these things because they really reflect on this idea of this incremental progress. I don't understand why people sometimes assume that somebody who gets a new position will immediately be great at it and immediately will not make any mistakes. It's all about, that feedback loop and improving. So where have you seen that improvement, on your capacity as a leader over the years?
Yeah, I think for me personally, I became a leader very young. So I was in my early 20s. And I think when you're young, you're very black and white about, or you can be very black and white about things. So over the years, I've learned that there are shades of grey. And that's been very good for me personally, because I think it helps you to gain perspective. So the things I've learned over the years is how to gain perspective, how to take a step back, how to help other people to learn as well. So that's also something that you learn as a leader over time, is what you should be doing versus what you delegate. And how do you delegate? How do you help people to develop? How do you coach them without, and how do you let go, really, especially when it's your own business, right? If there are a lot of entrepreneurs listening to this, it's really easy to have very strong ideas about what you want. But how you get there, sometimes you have to be more relaxed about. So I've learned a lot of those skills, and I think I'm a better listener today than I was even 5 years ago, actually. And I think also the important thing as a leader is to really think about what's important for you personally, but also what's important for your business, because things come at you all the time. So how you prioritize, how you work out what's really essential to yourself, to the business, all these things are very important. And it's a constant learning process. I don't think anybody gets saying, oh, now I'm perfect at being a leader. You're constantly learning. So I guess that's the other thing, is being able to take criticism and being able to be very self-reflective. When you're at the top of a business, again, as an entrepreneur, you don't get that much feedback because everybody's always looking at you. So what I've learned to do over time is involve myself in organizations. So for example, I'm a member of YPO, and I can get feedback from people in different industries that way, and just really seek out opportunities for yourself to learn and be self-aware of what you are good and bad at, and not expect yourself to be good at everything. So those are the kind of things I've learned over time. Nobody's doing your job review if you're the CEO of your own business.
Right.
So you have to really learn how you're going to get that feedback for yourself and move forward. So I think hopefully those things are things that people can take away practically, and certainly over time, that's kind of where I've sought to be. And I think it's also important to think about what you want your culture to be and what you want your vision and your mission to be. Again, those things, if you can set out at the beginning what's important for you with that, I think people can follow you more easily.
I remember what it's like, the days leading up to any of the events that I had the privilege of organizing, much, much smaller scale than what you're talking about. So, and therefore I can imagine that the number of emergencies and crises that I had is also on a much smaller scale, yet they were incredible. They were, over the top, earth destroying, everything is going to shit and nothing's going to work. Yet somehow, things end up usually okay. What are these experiences like? Because I cannot imagine, you're talking about listening and you're talking about prioritizing. I can't imagine a more important time to exercise those elements in the days leading up to the event, where you probably have 1,000 of emergencies coming in.
Yeah, well, I think the first thing is, certainly in an event business like ours, is we really sort out to work out our processes so that we were never firefighting the basics. That's what we called it. All the basics, this should be standard, so that when the emergencies come in, you've got the capacity to deal with them. So that was the first thing that we sought to do in the first few years of the business. But yeah, I definitely go into, I call it like the event vortex. So a few weeks before the show, everything that's not essential to the event gets deferred to later. And, nowadays I can do that for the week before the show. In the early days, it was 2 months before the show that nothing else got done. So you just have to, it's a constant sort of sorting of priorities and deferring anything that isn't truly essential to the event. And that's important if you're a business whereby you're judged for that week of that event. Like, it has to be right. Otherwise, you don't have a business at the end of it. So that's kind of how we've always looked at it. I think nowadays for us, the challenge is running the events in a way that's really successful, whilst also looking to the future, so that we have all these sort of 365 projects going on, so that we can keep developing and innovating. That's really important to me, that we can look to the future and not just the next event. But that's a really hard transition to make as well.
Right. And that makes perfect sense. And so over the years, what are some of these incremental improvements that you've observed you're making, not just to the events, but that to the organization as a whole? Because I'm imagining that every event you conduct, you're rethinking, okay, was the organizational structure correct? Was the delegating the best that it was? What are some of the key improvements that you've noticed?
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, I like to think about leadership and organizational structure. So I'm constantly tinkering, if you like, with that. I mean, one of the things that we've been doing over the past year, where we haven't had our events, is really working hard on becoming more agile and flexible team, and actually not having our usual work to do has really allowed us to almost blow up some of the organizational structures,
Right.
knock down sort of walls and silos, And so really for us now, it's how do we build into our next events that are coming at the end of the year, but not build back those walls. So we're working really hard actually at the moment on creating a much more flexible, self-managed organizational structure. And that is something that you don't do overnight. If you've got a team of 60 people in a structure, it's not something that you just break apart. So it's about small experiments, small changes that people want to make, that they put their hand up for, not to have a job title, to be more roles-based rather than title-based, to be more company-wide rather than department only. So it's these kind of incremental changes to the organization that I think over time will have quite a big effect as people see that and maybe put their hand up and say, actually, I'd like to work like that as well. So I think with everything, whether you're sort of looking at something like sustainability or whether you're looking at organizational structure, it's about making these small changes. It's a much safer way to drive innovation. It's not always as quick, but it depends what it is you're trying to do. And in an existing organization, I think that's a kind of safe way to experiment.
And obviously, a huge upside is that you're able to, independently, get feedback on experiments. And if something went wrong, you can much easier isolate what happened that caused this, because you're able to compare it to another instance where you saw that something worked. And obviously, if you do a complete breakdown shift, then it's very, very hard to pinpoint what went well and what didn't. Talk to me a little bit about the day after the event. The day after, you have it's a very interesting situation that you have where you're building a product where there's really two huge touch points, right, with customers per year that you're able to learn from and iterate for the next time. So how do you go about even thinking of what is the best way to learn from the experiences and to make those incremental improvements for the next time?
Yeah, that's a really great question, because actually that is something that we've learned to do better and better over time. Certainly our team are taking notes all through the event, and we're talking to our customers all through the event. So as event organizers, we're on the show floor all day, every day, going around talking to all the customers, what went right, what went wrong, what can we improve? And we spent about 3 weeks after each event in each team debriefing and talking about the improvements that we would want to make. We obviously have customer surveys and NPS scores, and we take all of that data as well. And then we have a big team meeting where each team presents the top 3 things that went right, the top 3 things that didn't go right, what they had worked on, sort of reviewing the goals, if you like. And then they also have an opportunity within that presentation to say improvements they think could be made in any part of the show. Might be nothing related. So it might be our finance team talking about something that the sales team would be operating on. But they have that opportunity to say, this is what I saw and this is what I observed. And this is what we thought could be done better. And then we take all of that information in. And from that, we create our OKRs and our goals for the following year's show. And so it's a process. It takes us a few weeks to do that and get through it. But that allows everybody in the business to have a voice, which is really important. Because, I think even the most junior person, maybe it's their first time at the event, they might have the most insightful feedback because they're coming from it totally afresh. So we want to bring all of that into our thinking and then do our very best to see how can we, some things are big investments and other things are changing a badge. It can literally, but I suppose the other thing is for people in the organization and also our customers to know that everything matters. So whether it's the font size on the badge could be better, or you need to invest in a completely new tech platform, these are very different orders of magnitude, but they all count. And that way we can build out a set of innovations that we can work over the short term and medium and long term.
I kind of imagine the complexity that goes into doing what you're doing with IMEX, and just from my personal experiences, I can appreciate the complexity, and I can even more appreciate the complexity behind the debriefing mechanism and how to actually end up with actionable insights that you're able to move into actual improvements for the product in the next one. And I think that's fascinating. Carina, thank you so much for joining me. I know how busy you are, and I can't wait to attend one of these events in person once this is all over. Before we leave, I have to ask the most important question, which is 3 words that you would use to describe yourself.
My 3 words would be optimistic, adventurer, and informal.
I love it. Carina, thank you very, very much. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you at an IMEX pretty soon, hopefully.
I very much hope so.
Take care. Thank you very much.
Thanks.